Thank you. Angelina Jolie.
Well, God, I just think, if I can ask anything, I think it is for everybody in this room, including myself and all of us, to stay focused on this issue, to follow up on Darfur, to watch what's happening in the courts, to follow what's happening in Nepal, to follow what's happening in Afghanistan. You have the internet, you have lots of different things at your disposal to educate yourselves and not let it just become something that's in the last page of a newspaper that is this small, but really make it something that is important, that you are following and not letting these things just happen and not making yourself aware of them. So I will do that, and hopefully we will all continue to work together and see what can happen to make it somehow better. I don't know.
Thanks so far. Thank you very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, liebe Gäste hier.
Well, participants, the floor is now yours. If you want to put a question, you'll have to stand up and raise your arm very high so that you can get a microphone. The microphones are roving microphones. They will be handed around. So you really have to make yourself visible. There's someone at the back of the room with a red pullover or sweater.
In Valley, USA. I have a question based on what we've heard in the last couple days at Davos with the emergence of China and India on the world economic stage, both of countries which don't necessarily have the cleanest track in human rights. How do you see this change in the prominence of India and China on the global stage, both from inside the country and on the international stage from a human rights, especially a children's perspective?
To whom do you address this question?
Actually, to Ms. Marshall.
The growing strength and the progress that both China and India have made is a cause of great hope. And I think we need to see the transformation, the largest improvement in human lives, in human history, has happened in China within the past decades that most of us at least have been alive. It is also a very clear lesson that we live in a diverse world, and one of the dilemmas of rights and human rights is how we translate rights and how we reconcile them with the cultural diversity that we know we need, and with our respect for the rights of individual governments. That is still the way that the world community is put together. We're a community of nation states. The one point that I would make is the power of education and health to transform these countries. The transformation that is happening is extraordinary. And it is, of course, transforming, leading to new demands, leading to new methods. And in both of those countries, those, I think, are the critical sectors for what will happen in the future.
Thank you, Kathy. Maybe we should try to keep the answers a little shorter. Like this, it's more room for questions. You want to ask a question? That's good, because you stand already.
Thank you. Sheila Killian, Chemie Business School, Ireland. I have a short two-part question for both Mr. Roth and Ms. Jolie. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights is a beautiful text, but it's more than 50 years old. And would you agree that there are some rights which are important now which would not have been envisaged when it was written, like the right to live in an environment free of pollution, or the right not only to education but to information, such as the internet? And second, and related to that, do you feel there is a responsibility on multinational companies who operate in many different countries to uphold or at least not breach those rights? And I'm thinking particularly of Google's recent offering in China of a censored web searching engine. Thank you.
Well, certainly. I mean, I think there's always room for improvement in any in anything, if there's the Universal Declaration, to look at it and see what can be improved. I think also if you look deeply into it, you could probably find ways to incorporate what you just said and understand when they say right to equality of life, that means pollution. You could argue that, and it could be used and still, but certainly I'm not against redoing it, making it better. I think that's a fine idea. As for companies, that would probably be more for you to say. Only that, I'll let you handle.
I believe that every company has a duty to avoid complicity in human rights abuse. In a case like China, that means allowing free trade unions to operate in your plant. It means avoiding child labor any place in the world, avoiding forced labor. You asked about Google. I worry about Google going down a slippery slope. Today it's decided to sacrifice its principles about free search in order to keep its business in China. What's going to happen tomorrow when the Chinese government says, well, who was it exactly who was searching for that dangerous clause, human rights? Give me their email address. That's what Yahoo did, and Yahoo turned over the name, and the person was sentenced to 10 years in prison. How's Google going to resist that now? Has it made its decision that business in China is more important than its principles? Where does it draw the line? We just don't know the answers right now.
Another question? There's a man yes.
My name is Rudolf Mäder from Swiss Radio. I have a question to Angelina Jolie. Angelina, what is your position on the treatment of the US government on prisoners in the war against terrorism? We have heard from Kenneth Roth, the government is torturing people, prisoners, is holding them in secret detention centers and letting them disappear. What is your position on that point?
Well, my position is, I'm concerned about what is happening. I don't know all the facts, like most people, but I think, I plan to watch human rights violations happening, from any country, and that does not exclude my own. So certainly, I think, as all Americans, we need to keep our eyes open and not just assume that because it's our country and we love our country, we've had trust in our country in the past, that we should just assume that it couldn't possibly be doing such horrible things. I think we all need to really, really listen to the reports that are coming out and really see what we can, when we should speak up and see what we can do. So it's shocking.
Another question. How many time do we have, Peter, for questions? Really? Is this okay for you too? Or okay.
Does anybody have anywhere to go?
No. 20 minutes? Okay. You just tell us if you feel comfortable, Angelina Jolie.
Does anybody else want to talk about it?
Yeah. Okay. Let's ask the question, but we need a microphone.
I think we can hear her, no?
We can hear. Maybe we can also yell it in the microphone then myself, if it's not too difficult. But the microphone is here.
My question's directed...
Can we know who you are?
Sure. My name's Christina Mulcahy. I'm from the United States. I'm with Hobart and William Smith Colleges. And this is directly towards Mr. Marshall and Mr. Roth and Mrs. Marshall. And I believe you guys spoke on the fact that you, in the past, you have used trade embargoes to pressure countries on human rights. But how do you intend to continue to use that in a highly globalized world where more transnational corporations and multinational corporations are existing?
That's a good question. I should clarify. I think trade embargoes are almost always a bad idea because trade embargoes tend to hurt ordinary people. I think much more targeted sanctions are the answer. Prosecution in the International Criminal Court is the most targeted sanction. That gets just the leader. Other things you can do is seize their bank accounts, or you can cut off certain kinds of trade that the leadership really cares about, military trade or arms or things of that sort. Or you can try to maybe limit the businesses that they own. But I think general trade embargoes tend to hurt common people much more than the government, and therefore tend to be ineffective. Look at what's happened with Cuba. It's made no difference that there's been a trade embargo in place for, over 30 years. It's just hurt the Cuban people. Castro hasn't taken a step further toward allowing greater freedom. It's very counterproductive.
Two comments. First, the actual potential that we have in countries which have violated their agreements with us.